So here's a task that comes up fairly frequently. Let's say I was playing Wolfenstein Youngblood, and I'd like to model this table as accurately as possible, just for practice. I've took a couple of screenshots, but even with a lot of reference, you're not going to get it accurate just by eyeballing it. I guess you could try, but it would take a lot of effort. And that's kind of what this program fSpy is designed to solve. You could go to fSpy.io to download this program and the associated Blender add-on. Just click there and download the release and install that. I've seen a few tutorials that go through using fSpy in a very basic way, but none that, in my opinion, explain the best feature of it, which is matching multiple images to the same scene. So we'll have to open up our folder with images, and we'll just put in that as our first image. So the basic procedure is that you pick an origin. This will stay constant throughout all of your reference images. You want to pick something that is visible everywhere and that is aligned to the world axis. I'm going to pick this edge of the table, and I also know that the edge of the y-axis of the table over here is 1 meter long, because that's how I've decided. And then these came out aligned already because I tinkered with this before. But the basic procedure here is that you find lines that converge to axes as closely as possible to get the perspective. I know that the positive y-axis is really good because we have all of these lines converging to the center here. But the x-axis is kind of weak because the vanishing point is very far away. It looks like down is a better direction, and in Blender, down is negative z-axis. So we'll match that. So we'll do positive y and negative z. So now it looks like the arrows here are aligned. So instead of taking that corner of the table, I think what is going to be better is this feature on the side here. You want to make these lines as long as possible to minimize error, and they should be as far apart as possible from each other to make sure everything lines up correctly. And hold down Shift to get this zooming thing. And one more. There. I think that's pretty much correct. I kind of see that the y-axis doesn't align. It might be that the table isn't perfectly aligned with the room, or it might be that my estimated points here are a little bit off. I'm going to assume that the table aligns to the room perfectly. And just by eyeballing it, I get it pretty close. I also know that my field of view for this is exactly 120, because that's what I set it in the game. If you're using a camera for this, there's an option to set sensor sizes and things that will let you figure this out better. So I'm going to go here into 3D guides and enable the box to see, like, does this align with the scene kind of visually? You also check these grid floors, see if anything's a little bit off. This part is pretty important to get the alignment correct, because if you're going to be doing this for multiple images, then you want to make it as correct as possible. And then in the field of view, degrees horizontal, it says 120.73. And I need to tinker with the perspective just a little bit to make that close to 120. And find one of these points here that changes the number the most, and that's most likely going to be the one that is slightly off. And it turns out it's this one at the end here. And I'm going to just move it very slowly until it's 120.0061. And then save this. Just overwrite that. I already did that once. And then now you can go over here. Assume you've got the add-on installed. Import fSpy and open up your scene with demo 1, I think, what I named it. And now see that the cube over here. Ooh, there's something I forgot. So the table over here is about 4 meters long right now, and my dude is the size of an action figure. And if you go into reference distance, I can pick one of these axes and just decide how long that reference distance is. So I know that this edge of the table should be about 1 meter long. I used just a tape measure. Also, I could see that the reference distance doesn't align to the side of the table. So I'm just gonna tweak that very slightly to make that align, because that's a pretty important one. And then let's see the x-axis. You'll have to make a compromise between like getting the FOV correct and aligning things visually, especially if there's some lens distortion. I'm going to say that's close enough. And then that, and over here, set this 4 to 1 and press enter, because I've done the mistake multiple times where I just click off and it will just forget. If you set this to 14 and then click, it will just set it back to 1. So save again. File, import, fSpy, demo 1, and there you go. So now my 1 meter cube is the size of 1 meter, and I can model this table by just aligning things visually. And at this point, I'd like to turn around to see this other side of the table. So that's what this is good for. Let's say I use this one. And I can just do the exact same procedure again. So set the center point, the origin, and I can see that the positive x-axis is very strong and the negative z-axis is very strong again. So let's do that, and then align these sort of roughly. Get the x-axis over there and there. So now I'll find bits that are as far away from each other as possible. That one, and I think there's something on the edge of that, but it's too dark to see. So I'm gonna disable that dim image, and that will give me this, and I can use the texture on the wall as a kind of a guide. Get that roughly lined up. So you'll see that the angle here is almost 90 degrees, and that's kind of what you're trying to aim for. As you could get this, if you could get this angle to 90 degrees, that's going to be as accurate as it can be. This is actually a little bit too far now, and I could see that this would probably be better, because now we get a closer to 90 degree angle here. If you think about it, moving this a little bit, if the angle is very shallow, then it's going to change the position of the vanishing point a lot. That's essentially what you're trying to get, position of the vanishing point. So the next one would be that roof over there, and align this. And then I can see that go down. If I could have like like a line right in the center here, that would be perfect. I guess the closest I can get is this piano. Hopefully these are all exactly aligned. That's one of the benefits of doing things from screenshots, because a lot of times these are aligned. And there you go. There's your second vanishing point, and it looks like that matches up pretty well. Just fiddle with this ever so slightly to get that x-axis aligned. And then look at the number over there, 119.92. And that's pretty good. And then grab the reference distance along the y-axis, and from the origin to the side of the table or back of the table, 1 meter, enter, and then save as demo 2. And then go back here, import fSpy. Oops, you have to be in object mode for this. Otherwise it gives you an error. Oh, there you go. And because we set everything up as closely as possible using all the features, I could see that this cube lines up exactly with where we put it in this other view. And if you keep doing that, you can add as many pictures as you like, assuming that you can always see the origin, or potentially just parent the camera to the put an empty into the origin, and then parent the camera to the empty, and then move the empty where you set your origin here. So that way you could take pictures that don't see the origin, as long as you can know where to move that empty. But generally easier if all the pictures see at least one point in common. So now I know if I go over here, I can see how tall this table is, like that. Then go into this other view, move that over there. You can start modeling things. Transparent view, set my cursor right about there, and add a new cube. Oops, I mean, still add a new cube, and then actually do that, and that. Set the cube to the side, and then rotate, and get this monitor roughly. And so on. So now if you need more pictures, then you can add them through fSpy. just keep adding little cubes and things to block things out, and eventually you'll have the entire scene blocked out in the right scale. Also set this guy on the floor just by sort of eyeballing. Let's say I want to get this guy in front of the table, but then somewhere over there, I don't know how tall that is. Say I want to put his foot right in front of that. So it's a little bit off. Just move that up and to the side. Go back. We move that to the front. And it's a little bit of a sort of fiddling to get everything aligned. You could even have like both of these visible at the same time. You go in the end panel, you use local camera, you demo 1 over here and demo 2 over here. You actually I don't want to lock this other one, but this way you could see kind of how these things match. Looks like that's like slightly slightly too high, possibly. This is where you'd want images that are aligned a little differently. I think that's pretty close. I want to move this just like that. That in the wrong way. It would help if you set the origin to the floor, but in this case the table was the best option. Anyway, I'm gonna assume that's close enough. You can tinker with that forever. Then I'll put my cursor on the foot of the guy and then add a plane and do that, and then I can align this to that and move this up here, and then let's say got this going on. And if you go in the other view, you can see that also lines up here. You can just do the rest of this. This is not great modeling, but it's not a model tutorial. You can see how useful having multiple references in the same, or multiple projected image cameras like this in the same scene is. There's also one way to do this with motion tracking, which is significantly more complicated than just fSpy. I've tried to do that by matching points on each of the images, but it never quite works right unless you have a lot of images, and in that case it's probably better to have video footage. And that's possibly a tutorial for another time, but I've used this successfully multiple times, and it's a fairly straightforward process. Just needs to tinker with this program a little bit more than usual. Hopefully that helps. If you have any questions about this or anything else, I stream every day on Twitch. Come stop by sometime. If you had, well, I guess that's it. I'll catch you later. Thanks for watching.